Today we're going to talk about listings, how we're going to obtain listings during this market, and what are good strategies that you can use throughout the process, and what trends we're seeing for listing potentials in the future as well. If you guys could please mute yourselves. Oh, I think I got it. Well, please mute yourselves. All right, so every morning on Thursday, 11 o'clock, Mastermind. Today is a Freedom Day. As you already know, those of you that have been here, type on the chat, it's a Freedom Day. What does freedom mean to you? David talks about his meaning of freedom all the time. Freedom for David is the freedom to be able to do whatever he wants to do, to deliver, to give to people, for our family. Freedom for me means peace of mind. It just peace of mind that I have what I need to be able to sustain my kids, to be able to be a good wife, and that I don't have to be stressing out, having to push and work really, really hard every single time to be able to give my kids everything every single day, every single year. We push now for a better future. Everybody has a different sense of freedom. Freedom means something different for everybody. So I want everybody right now to say it's a Freedom Day. Put it on the chat, interact with me. This is my first time doing this on the Zoom for David, so bear with me. I don't have his same energy, so I had to actually drink up some Red Bull to bring it up a notch. But it's going to be a good day. It's a Freedom Day. So type it on the chat. I will be asking some questions throughout the way to engage with you guys. I do want to hear what you guys have to say and what you think and what's missing, what's not missing. So we'll do that throughout the time frame. There are still some people hopping on. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about listings. One thing that we're seeing on the market right now is that there's a lack of listings, a lack of inventory. What is this doing to us right now? Basically, if you have buyers, which is easy to find buyers even with high interest rates, is the buyers are still with high interest rates not able to purchase a property in an affordable price. Why? Because where there's a high demand and low supply, the prices still go up, and we're still seeing that today, even though the interest rates are higher. So the whole idea with the interest rates going up is obviously to affect inflation, to be able to reduce inflation. But with a lack of inventory, unfortunately, we still have that happening, right? So with that being said, we need to get out there. We need to touch the market. We have to find different ways to get listings, and everybody still has to move, and there are still that need is still there. And there's so much equity right now. People are just afraid. Okay, people are afraid to make the moves because they don't know if they're going to be able to find a house somewhere else. So maybe it takes you getting out there and finding the house that is not listed, and there's so many ways that we can do that, but essentially knowing what your client needs and where those properties could be located and how you find the need in the sellers is how it's going to take you to the next level, right? To be able to find a property for your buyers, or be able to list properties and get new buyers, okay, and change the market. So Michael, I think there's people that are trying to get in, if you can help with that. So I have a small presentation. We're going to make today sweet and simple. Am I able to share, Michael?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. All right, share screen.
There you go.
Okay, so are you guys able to see this? Are you able to see that?
I'm seeing it from my end.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Do you see the chat too, or you just see the presentation?
I'm seeing the presentation. It's the whole screen.
Okay, perfect. All right, so Listings in today's market. Thank you, Katya. So go get those listings. All right, so bear with me a second because I'm trying to figure this out too. Okay, so what are the most effective ways that you can get listings during this market? These are 6 that I pointed out. There are other ways that you can do this. Okay, free CMA. A lot of people have heard about doing CMAs for sellers in their neighborhood. Okay, or a seller is interested in selling their property, you have to do a CMA. For those of you that don't know what a CMA is, that is a comparable market analysis of their property. Okay, and excuse the typo, I did this very late last night. Expired listings is a big deal. Expired listings, you're going to find that expired listings are usually listings that are overpriced, okay, or are not marketed correctly. And therefore, these are high opportunities because these are people that are already interested in selling. We're interested in selling at some point or another, okay? Probates. Probates are basically inherited property or properties that were owned by somebody who passed away. And therefore, now this is either left to the state to handle, or you know, there's a family member that is going to inherit the property and may or may not want to stay with it. Okay. New communities would be new development. Okay. Either you connecting with a new developer or connecting with the owners of the properties that just purchased in that new community not too long ago and have gained equity through time. And maybe you want something different or have to move because enough time has passed. Farming, it has been probably, this is like the main foundation. This is how real estate pretty much began. People farming their area, their neighborhood. Back then, we didn't have social media in the capacity that we didn't have social media in general. And as time went by, social media became more relevant for us to be able to market. Therefore, we're able to touch right now more people than we imagined. So a lot of people forget about focusing on their market, their area, the places they know, the places where they live. Okay, so farming is a big area. We're going to go more into details. It's a brief list. And then FSBOs. FSBOs are basically for sale by owners. These are people that think that they can sell the property on their own at a better value and that they're going to save money. Okay, they don't realize that a lot of times they lose more money by listing on their own, even when the market was hot. Okay, and FSBOs are such a great opportunity for you guys to touch on. So please mute yourselves.
Looking at how different metrics kind of.
Okay, next. Okay, so let's talk about free CMA. So for a comparative market analysis, you can offer this on social media. You can put that out there. Hey, anybody that wants to know what the property is actually worth right now. What happens is when somebody wants to know what the property is worth, a lot of times they want to see how much equity they have, which essentially could turn into multiple things. Either they want to take money out to go and purchase an investment, or to do renovations in the property, which essentially is going to give them more value, or the person is going to try to figure out if they have enough equity in their home to be able to sell, to be able to purchase a new property. Okay, so a free CMA is a good bait mechanism, I guess, for lack of better words. You can use this as bait. You can do this on social media. You can go canvas your neighborhood, excuse me, and offer a free CMA to your neighbors. Or you can create a general market analysis and offer that to your neighborhood, where people get an idea of what it is that their property could potentially be worth, and to reach out to you. You know, every time you use any media, any advertisement, you want to have some sort of action button or something that they have to do, excuse me, right after they get the information. You know, so the free CMA is just a way for you to be able to gauge these people and reel them in. Okay, excuse me. So expired listings. let's talk about expired listings. I had mentioned that expired listings pretty much are, sellers that went into the market have not sold. Oh my goodness. Excuse me a second. They have not sold, and it could be because they were either misled by the realtor that they used, or because the property was not marketed correctly. I know in, last year, 2021 and 2020, the properties were just selling. They were just selling, but there were still some expired listings. Okay. So the idea is how do we determine what it is that's wrong and help these people, because they're still interested in selling at some point or another. Okay. And you can either focus on the neighborhood that you are working on if you're farming, and look at, okay, what listings expired, look at what the market looks like in that neighborhood, and and then say, okay, did this expire because the price was wrong? And does that even mean that the seller won't sell unless they get that value? A lot of times that's not what it means. So a lot of people stay stuck on, okay, I found the expired listings, but the price was too high. That's probably why it expired, and they don't do anything about it. So instead of doing that, get the list and go up to the person, try to get their information in exchange for content or information from you to them. Okay, so for example, if I find a list of expired listings in my neighborhood, I'll probably go knock on their door and find out, sit down with the seller and figure out, okay, you wanted to sell recently. The property did not sell. What happened? And in addition to finding out what happened, find out why they were trying to sell. And then tell them, listen, a lot of times when a property stays on the market for too long, it could be because the price was high. Maybe you saw the pictures were wrong. Maybe let's try an attempt with better marketing. Okay. So, when I put here 6 to 24 months, I would say target listings that have been expired for more than from 6 to 24 months. Why? Because after 6 months, those cold callers, those agents that have the systems like Vulcan and stuff like that, they don't call anymore. It becomes quiet for them. And it's highly likely that after 6 months, their property has gained more value. So target those people, the people who have had expired listings in the last 6 to 24 months, and then see if you can actually get your foot in the door. When I first started this industry, the biggest thing that they would tell me was try to get your foot in the door. Once you get your foot in the door, there's a little bit more trust. Now they want something from you. They're giving you an opportunity. So 6 to 24 months, in order for you to have a little bit more of an effective approach on those expired listings, because they do get a lot of profiles at the beginning. Now, if you're aggressive, get Vulcan or contact them right away. There's other softwares out there that you can pay for to get expired listings, but learn what to say to these people. In we'll discuss this a little later on, is finding out what is their motivation to sell, and using that to be able to help them make a decision to list again with you, and why you're better. Okay. Probates. So when I was a real estate agent, which I should have introduced myself at the beginning with a little bit more detail, but I've been in the real estate industry for about 10 years now, and I ran a team as well. I had a top producing team. I also helped David with opening up our brokerage and getting to 200 agents. But when I was doing that, I decided to focus on probates. And the reason for that was because I wanted more listings. So the thing with probates is For those of you that don't know, somebody passes away, there's a property left behind. If it doesn't belong to a trust. And even if it does belong to a trust, the person who lived in the property, in most cases, the person lived in the property, passed away, and the property is now vacant. So what's going to happen with the property now? So now you need to find who survived that person, and how are you able to help them to sell the property at the highest value, because that's all they want in more cases than not. Either get rid of the property because the memories are hard, or they want the highest value so that they can walk away with the biggest chunk of their inheritance. Okay. A lot of times there's multiple people involved. So the more money they can get, the better. So anyway, with probates, you can find these in the clerk of courts. Okay. It's public records. So once a family member passes away, the family then uses an attorney, which then publicizes the probate for creditors to come. And essentially when they do that, it's just public. It's public for everybody. You can see who the attorney is, who the person was that passed away. Sometimes it even indicates that there's a property involved. And in the clerk of courts, with you can just go and get that information. You can, online, you can also find information on that. So you contact these people and try to see if you can help them. Now there's a fine line there, because you're preying on somebody who just lost a family member. So you got to be careful with that. When I did it, and I would strongly encourage to be careful with these things, but I used to look at the obituaries and see who passed away and recently. And then I would figure out who it says who survived them. And I would search property records to see if the person who passed away actually had property left behind. And then I would have an offer for the family members to help them with the process. For me, it was like, this is a difficult time. I'll help you with the moving any remaining furniture, we'll give you a credit for the moving expenses, stuff like that. And so that's how I was able to get in and help some of these families. But it is not an easy process, and it is time consuming. Another way to go about it, which would be a lot easier, is if you befriend an attorney. So if you guys go on, I can't remember what the website is, but there's a website where you can find all the attorneys in your state and in your area and what their focus is on. And then, try to reach out to them, see what events they're having, and try to make a relationship with a probate attorney. And that attorney will have so many properties that they can send your way. A lot of them do need work too. So they're good investment opportunities for those of you who are looking to invest. Okay, let's move on from that. New communities. So with new communities, the thought process is, when somebody purchases a new construction, they'll put in a contract. It takes a few months for the property to be completed. By that time frame, the value of the property is a lot of times higher than, or at least recently it's been that way, a lot of times higher than the initial contracted price. Okay. And some are encouraged to sell right away after the property is completed. Others, another thing is that after the project is completed, the entire project is completed or almost, finished with completion. The developers and the realtors who have been in that community are no longer there. So they don't have somebody to go to when they have a family member or a friend who's interested in the property or in a property nearby or anything like that. So this is your time to come in and say, okay, they left, but I'm here. All right. And to also provide them with information on what their new values are in that neighborhood after they've moved in. Okay. Farming is basically very specific. Farming could be, mostly in the past, it's always been your neighborhood. So you can either put, this is very antiquated, but it helps because it's all visual. The more people see you, the more people like you, the more people trust you, the more people feel like you are the professional. Even if you just started, the more they see your face, either on social media or on print, they are going to trust you. So if you take your neighborhood and you create a brochure and you leave it in businesses, if you put an ad on a newspaper, local newspaper, which is still, that is still a thing. People, older people still look for that. And those are the people who have properties right now. Still, a lot of them have properties with a lot of equity. And I hate to say it, they, at some point or another, they are going to have to sell either to downsize or, moving on to the probate section that we just spoke about. Okay. So anyway, the newspaper is one thing. If you create a small magazine for your neighborhood alone, and you just put the stuff that's happening around there, and you talk to the owners in the neighborhood and you promote their business, they're more than likely to give you more business. Even if it's a small one, it could be a 2-pager, 3-pager, something that people could look forward to, but you have to be consistent. Create events for the community. There's a top producing agent that has been so successful with this. His name is Riley Smith. He's in Coconut Grove, here in Florida. And Riley Smith does the same market analysis. I think it's every quarter. And he basically gets everybody from the community already knows that he does this. They know him for this. So they go to his market presentation, and who else are they going to trust? They trust him. He's the highest producing in that area. Everybody knows who he is, but because he's been consistent. Okay, there's a group that I'm not really a fan of, but I have to give them props for being the face. They have bus benches. Okay, they have their own magazine and everything. They're around my neighborhood. I won't mention their names, but whatever. The whole purpose is, what can you do that is visible to everybody? Mailers, as old as it might sound, mailers are so important because they get to the door. They get to the person's hand. And if you put your face on there and you do this consistently every single month for at least 6 months, for the ones that give the weekly reports, hold on, Daniel's asking a question. It's not a weekly report, it's a quarterly report. Is for Riley Smith does for Coconut Grove, and there is somebody that does a magazine, and their name is Carmona. So anyway, going back to the mailers, if you send the mailers out for at least 6 months, then the person who lives in that property is going to think that you are the professional in that area. You could start right now and do this for 6 months straight, just providing information, putting a QR code where they can join you create a social group on Facebook for your community alone. If you live in a gated community, even better. If you live in a building, there's so many, especially one of those big towers, that's a community in and of itself. And you can't be door knocking in every single one of those doors. So you have to do the mailers in order to get to them and provide useful information and ways for them to take action to come to you. So farming is a good way to get those type of listings, providing them with information on how their properties could sell, better ways for the properties could sell, tips to sell within through the holidays, the amount of equity that they can potentially have if they lived in a property for a certain period of time. Whatever it is, there's so much information out there. Farming is a good way to become the realtor celebrity of your community. And that's the one that they're going to give the listings to. FSBOs is another one. You can find FSBOs on Zillow. Nowadays, you can find for sale by owners on Facebook Marketplace. A lot of people are trying to sell their properties on Facebook. Okay. And of course, canvassing your neighborhood. be a resource. With physicals, it's a little harder. They think they can sell for a higher value. If, you know, in a market that was so hot, for sale by owners could have sold, could sell right away. There was no effort to sell. The difference was that the for sale by owner was going to get less money than the one that was listed. Why? Because it has less exposure. And could they have some exposure? Yes, but it's not the same. It is certainly not the same. It's not marketed the same. And of course, you know, a lot of buyers, as much as they like the idea of for sale by owner because of value, they also don't trust a lot of the information that's given because the person's not represented. So, and a lot of times they don't want to pay their realtor, so they have to pay it too. So buyers don't want to pay for that either. You know, so we got to think about those things. So, you know, this is useful information for you guys to go out there and get some for sale by owners. Now on the chat, I only mentioned 6. I have other ideas of what else, but can somebody else give me any other idea of how else can you get a listing in this market? Or what have you done to get a listing in this market recently? And I can think of one that's like super easy right now, but I'm not going to give it away. Can somebody on the chat tell me about a way that they've been able to obtain a listing recently? Anybody? All right, contractors outside the home. Aline, you want to elaborate on that one a little bit? Unmute yourself and tell us how did you get that?
Of course. So usually when you see contractors outside the house making any renovations, it's possibly because they might want to, spruce up the house in order to put it on the market. So sometimes you see the contractors outside, you could ask them a couple questions, see if they know anything about the owner and if they possibly might want to sell or if they mention anything during their consultation, and then get an idea if that's what they're looking for. They possibly haven't found an agent.
Thank you. That is very, very smart, because you don't even have to talk to the owner right away. You're already getting information, all the information you need, and then now you can come in with useful information for the owner. Okay, they're doing renovations. So what does that mean? What will the property value be after they do those renovations? How much more equity could they potentially have? Why are they trying to do that? Like, not only just to sell and get equity, but what's their motivation? Is it because, you know, family member moved out, all their kids moved out, they want to get closer to the grandchildren? So, you know, that's potentially information you can get from contractors. Thank you, Aline or Alan. May Reed said dropped off business cards at a store. So the dropping off business cards at a store is similar to the concept of the mailers and having your face and information out there. You know, that is so easy, so simple. Sphere of influence. Penny, thank you. So that's one of the ones I was thinking about that I wasn't mentioning right away, is your sphere of influence. Obviously, the people you know, the more they know that you do this, the more they know that you have, you know, properties for sale. Penny gets a lot of listings, so, you know, she's able to promote them. The people who do not have listings right now, talk to your sphere of influence. And I'm not only talking about sphere of influence, the people that you're trying to sell to, I'm talking about people that can help you. Talk to them and see if maybe you're able to promote their listings as well, and put yourself out there as a professional agent to that lists properties, you know, or that presents properties or that markets properties, you know, and you can get buyers from that too. Follow up with past clients. Thank you, Claudia. Following up with past clients is so important. I think, you know, David harps on this so often. A lot of agents close on a deal and just forget about the client. Let's say I got paid, walked away, and they forget about the past clients. You know, every year, the average is about a 4% increase in value on a property. Just recently, we had a 20% increase in value on a person's property, you know, from the year prior. All right, that was 2021. How many of you guys actually reached out to your past clients to try to get them to list their properties, to sell and get the highest value? How about the past clients that you knew were investors, or you knew moved into a property that was smaller because that's all they could afford at that moment, and now can move into something bigger and use that equity to have an affordable monthly payment on a bigger property? This is, this is key. Fear of influence and follow up on past clients tends to be the easiest ones too, because these are based on referrals. This is people you've already spoken to. They already know you. A lot of times they like you, they trust you. We know that's half the battle. Thank you guys for participating. I'm going to move on to the next one. So let's talk about getting the deal. What to do at the appointment. So some of you are probably experienced, and I know like Penny is experienced. I can tell Claudia is as well. And a lot of you guys have a certain process in order to get this listing. Okay, you sent out the mailer, you called your past clients, now you're in the house. So what do? Like anything else, the main thing is why. Why is that person moving? And why is that important? Why is going to be your hot button. I used to be in sales prior to being a realtor. And in learning sales, the biggest thing was we used to call it the hot button. Okay, I used to be a sales rep for LA Fitness and 24-hour fitness. There's a hot button. What gets the person moving? Why does that person have to sell? Just like David asked you guys, what is the reason that you guys are doing what you do? There is a reason why they are doing what they do. And how are you going to help them? Because the why is going to help you determine the solution. All they need is a solution to their goals, a pathway. Okay, so on the chat, why could a seller be wanting to sell? Give me a hard one. Or why would they bring you in for an appointment? Let's ask that question instead. Why would somebody bring you in to an appointment, to a listing appointment? Financial problems. New baby, need a bigger place. Let's talk about financial problems nowadays. Divorce. Thank you, Summer. Financial problems is going to be, or seems to be, becoming a big deal right now. We'll talk about that a little further on. But one of the reasons is the pandemic really hit a lot of people, especially investors that had tenants. So investors that had tenants that couldn't take out their tenants now are, they have been responsible for making these payments and could be finding themselves in financial distress, because that's also how they made money for themselves. Okay. Inflation is not just in the property values, it's also in everything. Gas is up, everything is up. Our money is becoming thinner and thinner as time goes by, and people are not able to afford that. There are other people that have taken home equity loans to do things on their properties, and who knows, maybe the monthly payment is too high at this point. There's a lot of that has been taking place. A lot of renovations too, where they intended to pay them off and probably couldn't. Let's see, we have a new baby, need a bigger place. That's a big one. And those are my favorite because they're so excited. They're so excited. It's a new chapter in their life. So when you have somebody, when you're targeting somebody that's looking for a bigger place or new babies, who do you think you should be in relationship with? Midwives, gynecologists, See if you can put some of your information in their offices. You know, new parents, you know, putting some information on how new parents can afford purchasing a property that is a little bigger to be able to, you know, sustain their family or hold their family, not sustain it, but hold as many people as they're trying to have. Divorce is a good one. Not a good thing, but it's a good one. Divorce, a lot, it's very rare that you're going to find that the people are deciding to stay together. But one of them, a lot of times, wants to stay with the house, and usually is the woman. A lot of times it's the woman, although, you know, of course, the men do too, and they may or may not be able to afford it. Okay, alone, I mean. They want to know the value of the home, moving up, downsizing. Yep. HOA assessment, condo fees go up. Thank you, Daniel. That's a good one. A lot of that is happening right now in the beach. Okay. After they started putting those regulations that the condos needed to be up to par after what happened. A lot of the associations are trying to put money into improving the condos and the conditions, which is a good thing. But a lot of people cannot afford those monthly payments. Okay, so those are good ones. Thank you, guys. All right. So that's your why. Now, value proposition. Now, I'm gonna have to move a little faster on this one. Value proposition. David always talks about determine what your value is. So you have value in so many areas of this industry. You have value as a buyer's agent. You have value as a listing agent. You have a value as a real estate consultant. Okay. But in this case, for a listing, what is your value? Why is it that you guys, that you are the person that they should hire in order to get that listing? Okay. We're going to go over that in the next slide. Marketing is another one. Okay. What kind of marketing plan do you have? What kind of marketing plan do you do? Do you have a marketing plan for you to be a listing agent? Do you have the budget to be a listing agent? Because you have to invest. They're not going to give you that money. You get paid at the closing if you close it. Market knowledge. Market knowledge is very important because with the market knowledge is how you're able to guide them on what's the right direction for their property. Remember, they're getting counseling from you. Overcoming objections. Are you going to get objections even in the best listing appointment? Yes. Are you prepared to overcome those objections? What kind of objections would you get? We'll go over that. And then at the end, ask for the business. What's the point of going to a listing appointment? And then you say, okay, great. Thank you for letting me present to you. And then just walk away. All right. So, all right, let's do this. We already went over the why, so I'm going to skip that one. Your value proposition, I'm going to go over this real quick. Know your numbers to validate your worth. What is your percentage on price sold versus listed price? What does that mean? You list the price at a certain value. Let's say it's 100,000 and the property sold for 90,000. Right now, your percentage of price sold versus listed would be 90%. If your price versus listed percentage is lower than the market standard, you're doing something wrong. Okay, that's my opinion. Take it or leave it. You're doing something wrong. The market standard, you know, right now you're looking at about 98%. It's going to change. It's going to go down. Average is about 94, 92 if priced right. So that's the key. Okay. Number of closings year to date. How many closings have you had? Do you know your numbers? Average sales price. What is your average sales price? How many days on market do your listings stay? This is important because for a seller that has to move really fast, you have to let them know, with my strategy, on average, my days on market are, I don't know, 15 days. to go under contract, and then you close. Okay. Recently, it should have been, property goes on the market without even listing it. That was 2021. Now you got to put a little bit more effort. So you got to find what your now numbers are going to be, or are, if you have enough business. Okay. Record sales. What are your record sales? What percentage above list price have you been able to get for your clients, or whatever it is, the fastest sales that you did? What do you do different, better, or great? I would say figure out these things, take a screenshot of this or whatever, figure out these things and put it on paper. Put it on paper. Why? Because people want to trust you before they give you a listing. And how do they trust you? With the numbers. A lot of times numbers speak louder than words instead of action, but action will too. Okay. I'm a numbers person, so I like to look at numbers. Marketing. Who are you marketing the property to? What's your database of people? Actually, let me go back to value proposition. If you are new to this industry, use your company, use your team. I suggest you join a team, because that for sure ensures that you're going to be in a good position and that you have the support. But use those numbers. Those are your numbers too, because you're not alone in a team. Okay. But so yeah, so you know, try to put something together where you can feel confident when you sit at that listing appointment. Your marketing. Who are you marketing the property to? What's your database of people? Some people pay for leads. Okay, if you have online leads that are coming, you know, we used to use that a lot. We used to tell sellers, you know, we have thousands of leads. We'll input your property into this lead pool, and you know, it's highly likely that somebody's going to be interested in your property. And so many times we found our own buyer within our system. Okay, social media. What groups are you part of? Where do you present it? You know, videos. What quality of videos are you using? Your photos, just listed mailers, canvass the neighborhood, open houses. Are you going to do an open house? Open houses are important to expose the property. You can do a broker's open to get other agents interested in the property, and then they can market it to their sphere, provide them with marketing material. That way you expand your network through them. But open houses help you also to get, you know, to get buyers. So it's another way to obtain more business. A grand open house by invitation only. We used to do those for luxury listings. Okay. At luxury listings, they want to see you do great things and bring people that you know, that can afford to purchase their home, and brokers as well. Create ads. Facebook ads are easy. Okay. Market knowledge. Know your market. Again, average price per square foot sold. Okay. So when you're going to these listing appointments, you got to know what's happening in their neighborhood. A lot of times you've never been in that neighborhood. So do your research before you show up, because they might ask you. A lot of times they will. So average price per square foot sold, highest price listing in the neighborhood. Why is it important to know what's the highest price listing in the neighborhood? Because if your house looks exactly the same as that one, and you list it higher than that one, you just help that listing sell. That listing has higher potential to sell than yours if they're similar. Okay, so just be careful with that. Lowest price property in the neighborhood as well. Conditions of the property. Know what's going on, because they're going to be like, no, this property is selling for this much, and their property conditions are worse than mine. And understand what that means to an appraiser. Okay. What's located near the area? Anything new being built that could potentially give them more value? How many homes selling in the area versus the previous year? Is the market moving? You know, are there a lot of listings and they're just not selling? And why? Days on market. What's the average days on market for that neighborhood? Price sold versus price listed. You know, days on market is important. You know, we used to look at that a lot, and also we look at it in everything, but in listings that are in the $1 million range, or in an area where there's a lot of $1 million listings, you're gonna find that the days on market vary. And a lot of it has to do with either the property, how it's marketed, and all those properties tend to be very different from each other. So, you know, it takes, some properties are more attractive than others. Okay. But understand those things and what's the average, so that you're able to communicate with somebody. Okay, you're trying to move next month, but you know, if the average price is this and the average price is selling, you know, in 30 days, or I mean, in 60 days, then we might have to list the property a little lower than that to be able to attract more people, or list it at the same value provided instead of for the real estate agent or the buyer. Okay, I think you got to get creative with these things. Overcoming objections. Price is a big one, which I've discussed multiple times throughout. A lot of sellers are going to want to negotiate your commissions. Some agents are allowing their commissions to reduce, but if you have the right value and you have the right confidence and you have educated them throughout the way, then your value is there. So don't undersell yourself. Time to list. Also, find out when it's okay to start the listing. Does the property need to be worked on? How long would that take before you list it? Do you have to stage the property? Think about those things. And then, are they interviewing other agents? And then, you know, of course, at the end, ask for the business. But, you know, a good question is, you know, when walking away would be, okay, is this everything you were looking for? Is this everything that, have I offered to you everything that you're looking for? Or do you believe that I'm going to be, that I'll be able to sell your property? Because if they do believe that, why are they interviewing other people? Okay. All right. So that's that. We'll move on. Short sales and foreclosures. We'll go through this very quickly. There's predictions of more short sales and foreclosures coming into the market. There's a 62% rise in foreclosures from September last year versus September this year. Why? Because of COVID, deaths, the pandemic relief expirations that we were talking about with regards to investors that have had the property rented and couldn't gain any profit from their properties. They just, you know, they might have not been able to pay those out. Okay, it went out too long. So those are some of the reasons why so many foreclosures are coming. A lot of people have been submitting applications for foreclosures right now. They cannot afford where they're living. Homeowners insurance has gone up, etc. Okay, so start looking at that. There's a certification that you can get as well that'll help you understand. You know, for those of you that don't know, foreclosures, obviously you haven't been paying your property for a long time, you can afford it, and the bank takes the property from you. And then, or the association, if you don't pay for your association, the association also has the right to take the property, foreclose on you. Short sales would be when your property is worth less than what it could sell for. Okay, so then the bank forgives the difference. Right now, there's not a lot of that because there's a lot of value. But if the person took out a lot of equity on their property and decides to sell in the next year or so, if they took out money to do improvements or whatever, and they decide to sell in the next year, you know, since the prices are adjusting, it may or may not happen that you'll find yourself in a position where they have to short sell. Okay. All right. I am done. We've got just a couple minutes. We got 6 more minutes left. Any questions? Any questions? Let me stop the share. Any questions? I'll take suggestions. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it was informational. I'll help you stimulate your market a little bit more, or rethink about the things you thought about doing and haven't gotten to. You're welcome, Kat. You're welcome, Claudia. Any questions, anybody? Is there a structure to present the seller our services? You know, there's certain companies that offer marketing materials and stuff like that. There's not a specific structure. Those you would have to create yourself. I would suggest you get on Canva and get that. And try to put together the value. You know, if you're in a team, the team more than likely has a listing presentation that you can use with all that information on there. If you're not in a team, you're an individual agent, create a damn listing presentation like ASAP. How do you not have one where you can sit in front of a seller and say, this is me, this is what I do, and this is how I can be better for you? Okay. All right, guys. I think that is it. It was a pleasure. Thank you guys for staying along with me. And I hope this was helpful and informational for you. And I guess we'll see you next time. Bye.